From our State House studio in Montgomery, I'm Todd Stacy. Welcome to Capitol Journal. Today was the 5th legislative day of the 2025 regular session, and it started early. The big item of the day, Senate Bill 79, the What is a Woman Act, sponsored by State Senator April Weaver and State Representative Susan DuBose. The bill would define in state law sex-based terms like male, female, man, woman, mother, and father, all based on biology. DuBose said the bill simply acknowledges those biological realities, while opponents argued that the bill is discriminatory.
We have had 6 public hearings on this bill, and this bill has passed twice out of this body. We do need to pass this law for clarity, certainty, and uniformity in the courts and in the laws of Alabama. I believe that we are a country founded on freedom of religion, not freedom from religion.
Freedom of. That means if I choose not to, I got that freedom not to. And so you can't force your beliefs on me. And this is not government. This is religion here.
The bill passed 77-8 and now goes to Governor Kay Ivey's desk. Later in the day, Ivey celebrated the bill's passage on social media and said she would sign it into law. The Senate also met today, but took up a pretty non-controversial agenda. Here's what they passed. Senate Bill 39 from State Senator Keith Kelly would require members of certain boards and commissions to complete training. Senate Bill 36 from State Senator Wes Kitchens would update the procedures for competitive bidding on contracts. And Senate Bill 94 from State Senator Arthur Orr would modernize Alabama's adoption code, aiming to make the process more streamlined and fair. All of those bills now go to the House. We've reported on how addressing crime is the top priority this session for the governor and for legislative leaders. Today, many of those leaders gathered in the Capitol to roll out the Safe Alabama package that aims to crack down on violent crime, support police officers, and take deadly weapons off the streets. Among the bills in the Safe Alabama package are the Back the Blue Legal Protection Act that would offer greater liability protections to police who discharge their weapons in the course of duty, offering scholarships to children of law enforcement officers to enhance recruitment, tightening laws on gun possession in inner cities, particularly when it comes to felons, expanding the metro area crime suppression units to crack down on violence, more monitoring of juvenile offenders, and banning Glock switches. Ivey called on lawmakers to pass those bills and send them to her desk.
Y'all, this package is responsible and it's important. As I've said, bolstering public safety is my #1 priority for this session, and I look forward to getting these bills to my desk so I can officially make it law and create a safer Alabama.
One of those crime bills saw movement today in committee. The Senate Judiciary Committee advanced Senate Bill 116, a measure to ban so-called Glock switches, and it's sponsored by State Senator Will Barfoot. The bill would make it illegal at the state level to own or possess devices that convert regular handguns into fully automatic machine guns, drastically increasing their rate of fire. These devices are already banned under federal law, but Barfoot says adding a state prohibition will help law enforcement crack down on their use. The bill received bipartisan support in committee. Senators also heard emotional testimony from Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin, whose city was rocked by a deadly mass shooting last fall, an attack that left 4 dead and 17 others injured. Investigators said the shooter used a Glock switch.
This bill gives our local law enforcement the ability, when they pull somebody over who has a Glock switch, again, commonly called a Glock switch, a conversion kit in their possession, to arrest them on a state statute.
These guns were not built for the thrust and the force that comes when they modify these guns, so they don't have any control. And citizens should not be afraid to go places because of being injured, killed, or shot.
I believe what you all are doing here today related to machine gun conversion devices will literally save Alabamian lives. In Birmingham and in other cities across the state, there are too many grieving mothers who've lost their child because of the use of these machine gun devices. Too many children have lost parents because of these machine gun conversion devices. In 2024, we had 2 mass shootings, and machine gun conversion devices were used in both. Innocent lives were stolen from families. Birmingham would not have had the deadliest year of record if these conversion devices had not been used.
That legislation now moves to the full Senate for its consideration. At their weekly press conference, the House Democratic Caucus was also talking about guns and crime. Specifically, they were highlighting a bill from State Representative Barbara Drummond meant to keep guns out of the hands of children.
The bill would provide a criminal penalty against a parent or legal guardian when his or her minor child unlawfully possesses a firearm on the premises of a public school as a result of the parent or legal guardian's failure to reasonably secure the firearm. Let's be clear, this bill does not infringe upon Second Amendment rights. We strongly believe that safe and responsible gun storage will help prevent school shootings, as well as the high amount of accidental gun-related tragedies.
Also in committee today, a bill aimed at protecting Alabama's public school teacher who are injured on the job. Senate Bill 1, sponsored by Senator Sam Gavan, cleared the Senate Education Budget Committee with unanimous bipartisan support. The legislation would establish a workers' comp program for teachers and other education workers. A similar bill passed the Senate last year, but stalled in the House after concerns were raised about its potential cost to the state. Gavan says that he and other lawmakers have been working closely with House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter to address concerns and get the measure across the finish line this session.
There was a lot of debate. The speaker pulled a lot of us in his conference room. We worked out a lot of these details, the vast majority of them, I would suggest. And we did move more towards the model that the state employees have in terms of language set up in there. What I would like, and I'm optimistic about the conversations I've had with House members that we would get this through the legislature this year.
In my capacity as a Head Start director, we're seeing a lot of teachers who are being hurt on the job because of a lot of behavioral challenges our babies have. And so this is a very necessary piece of legislation for the people we say we prize our teachers to be protected in this, because the process as it stands right now is quite convoluted. And so thank you again for this legislation.
A bill that could change weight limits for logging trucks is moving forward in the Alabama Senate. Senate Bill 110 would increase the allowable axle weight limits for logging trucks, a move that supporters say is necessary to reduce costly fines and operational disruptions in that industry. However, state officials from the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency and the Alabama Department of Transportation warn that heavier loads could lead to long-term road damage and weaken enforcement efforts. The bill was in the spotlight today during a public hearing in the Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry Committee, where industry leaders and state officials testified for both for and against the measure.
We need an increase in this axle weight so we quit getting these tickets that are penalizing us, costing us time and effort and everything else. We have to take a driver out of service. We have to, the owner of the business has to show up for court, and there's no system where there's checks and balances.
Gentlemen have to go to court to discuss a ticket. They have to, the owner of the truck has to go, the driver of the truck has to go, troopers have to go, be off the road. They have to go fight it though, because it accrues points that is factored into their ability to get insurance.
One of the things about this damage is there is no immediacy, meaning the first time on a state route, I'm speaking for state routes, that a heavier axle crosses, the whole thing doesn't crumble. It distresses it. The distress is built over time.
This bill would limit enforcement. It would restrict our trucks to how many they could weigh at a time, and that could clog up and make us wave through trucks that need to be weighed and need to be inspected.
That bill passed out of committee on a voice vote and now heads to the full Senate for further consideration. Today, city leaders from throughout Alabama gathered in the capital city for the League of Municipalities Advocacy Day. The event featured a variety of issue panels, including one on how healthcare costs are squeezing communities.
Today we are celebrating Advocacy Day, and it's a day for all of us to come together and really make our voice heard about the things that are important to, cities and towns all across the state of Alabama. Also educate ourselves about things that are important. Like today we have a healthcare summit. We're talking about legislation that can impact law enforcement. So there's a lot of things that happen at the state government that impact us locally, and it's really important that we stay engaged with our local delegations, with the legislators here at the state level, and the League puts on these events to help us do that.
We reported last year that Alabama's longest-serving lawmaker is the subject of a new book chronicling his more than 5 decades in public service. Jabbo Wagoner, an Alabama political legend, is written by political columnist Steve Flowers. The two men took part in a special book signing today where even Governor Kay Ivey stopped by to get her copy. Wagoner's career spans back to 1967 when he first took office under Governor Lurleen Wallace. Over the years, he's played a key role in shaping Alabama politics, particularly in the Birmingham area.
His 52-year career in the state Senate is almost a direct correlation to the change in Birmingham being a blue-collar steel city to the biggest medical research institute in America. He's done so much civically in Jefferson County, but when this book is set over at the archives 50 years from now, and all of us are gone, he has the history for the longest-serving state senator in Alabama history.
You know, I started in this process in 1967 with Lurleen Wallace. She was my first governor, and I've served with a total of 11 governors, Lurleen being the first one. I guess you can say I got hooked on this process. I don't know if that's proper, but I did. I've been serving for 52 years now, and to look back on my career, I said, I think Steve did a really good job.
Today, faithful citizens from throughout Alabama gathered in Montgomery to pray for the state's leaders as the legislative session begins. The Alabama Citizens Action Program, better known as ALCAP, put on the prayer rally. And although the rain kept the event off of the State House steps, it did not dampen their spirits or deter their mission.
We were glad to gather in this room just to pray for all 3 branches of our government, to call the names of those that are elected to such high offices, and just bring together believers, Christians from all across the state who believe in the power of prayer and who pay attention to what goes on in our government. And we know that prayer is powerful, and we need more of an emphasis on prayer. So it's our honor to sort of coordinate this and to welcome in many of the folks who are elected to office to come in and allow us to pray with them and for them. And it's a good day, and it's been a great event.
After we come back, Jeremy Walker of the Alabama Realtors Association joins me to talk about Realtor Day and issues facing that industry. Stay with us.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online at video.aptv.org. Capital Journal episodes are also available on APTV's free mobile app. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page. And you can listen to past episodes of Capital Journal when you're driving or on the go with Capital Journal podcasts. Keep up with what's happening with Capital Journal.
Since 1997, Alabama Public Television has provided programs, services, and resources to child care professionals, teachers, and parents. Visit aptv.org/education to learn more.
Former basketball player and Hall of Famer Charles Barkley is one of Alabama's most recognizable sports stars. Nicknamed the Round Mound of Rebound and Sir Charles, the Leeds native had a remarkable basketball career with the Auburn University Tigers before embarking on a career in the NBA. Barkley also played for the U.S. Olympic basketball team in the 1992 and 1996 Summer Games. Since his retirement in 2000, Barkley has carved out a niche as a basketball analyst, author, and commentator on political and social issues. Since 2001, Auburn University, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Phoenix Suns have retired Barkley's number 34 jersey. In 2006, Barkley was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Welcome back to Capital Journal. Joining me next is Jeremy Walker, CEO of the Alabama Association of Realtors. Jeremy, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
Well, it's an exciting week. It was Realtor Day at the Capitol here in the capital city. You had realtors and those in the real estate industry from around the state gathered in Montgomery, coming to the State House, advocating on behalf of that. Tell me what all goes into Realtor Day.
Well, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but we've got a number of great members, as you know, who care about our issues. And that's special because it's more important almost for legislators to hear from them than from us. And so they donate their time and come down. And we had a wonderful day. We're truly grateful for everybody who made it, including legislators who participated.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to be a part of a panel moderated there, talking with Senator Orr, talking with Senator Hatcher about some of the issues. But I didn't get to see the rest of the program, so I'm curious as to how all that went. One of the things that y'all as an organization put out monthly, it's actually really helpful for us in the media, is a report on the housing situation. A lot of statistics, data about what's going on in the housing market, because there has been a lot of volatility here in recent months. So let me just ask you, what are we seeing trend-wise in terms of the housing situation, considering we just changed administration and there's a lot of volatility out there?
Well, a lot, and thank you for mentioning that. We cover the real estate statistics and the broader economy. And so there's a lot of good news to report. Through the third quarter, the most recent data, the state grew at 6% through third quarter, the statewide GDP, which is incredible. It was twice the national average. So Alabama is growing. That's positive news for the state. People are coming here. Net migration continues to be up year over year. We're in the top 10 over the past 2 to 3 years. Housing faced some headwinds last year. Part of that was due to higher interest rates than people would like. Part of that was due to uncertainty over the presidential election. And so people were kind of waiting on the sidelines. But we're very optimistic about going into 2025 and getting back to normal.
Absolutely. Yeah, higher interest rates, it's got to be a bummer anytime you're in that business. But at the same time, sometimes people have to buy a house, have to sell a house. It's not a choice a lot of times, but perhaps high interest rates do put off the more, if it is a choice in that regard.
Well, especially if somebody has a mortgage rate right now below 5%. And in Alabama, 70% of your existing mortgage holders have a rate below 5%. So it's really hard to trade that in for a 7% interest rate.
Right, if you don't have to.
If you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, how did it go with Realtor Day? Because it wasn't just the gathering downtown. They came to the State House, interacting personally with lawmakers. I'm imagining lawmakers appreciate seeing folks from their hometown come into their office.
Absolutely. That part is one of the most rewarding. It's one of my favorite days of the year to see that interaction from our members. I mean, they're super engaged from their city council to the state legislature, even to Congress. And it's really special. What helps make the Realtor organization very special.
Well, speaking of the legislative session, what are the issues impacting realtors, real estate that y'all are following or advocating for this session?
We'll have a couple of bills, one on business license transparency. The league under Greg Cochran's leadership has been very good to work with, and we think we're going to be able to work something out on this. But it'll be an appealability of a business license issue to the Alabama Tax Tribunal. And that's really a positive and a transparency effort to be sure that before you do business in a city, you really know how you're going to be taxed as a small business. A couple other things we're looking at are land fraud has become a major issue across the state. These impersonators have become very, very good with artificial intelligence and you know, it's really hurting a number of people. So we're going to try and help work with lawmakers to file a bill to protect property owners.
So wait, so they're faking property on the market? Walk me through what happens.
Well, so for example, you're a homeowner, they may impersonate you and put your home for sale. So it traditionally happens with vacant land or a property that's not occupied. So if you own land out in the country, they could put that land up for sale in some cases without the owner even knowing about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds pretty scary.
It's
That's
very scary.
Yeah. Okay.
Very scary.
What else is on y'all's plate?
We've got a really important real estate bill that we're pursuing. There was a nationwide class action and settlement about a year and a half ago that forced buyer agreements onto consumers before they can even look at a property. And so a number of groups have come out and expressed a lot of concern. Consumer groups, including the Department of Justice, is really it being an unfair agreement being forced on consumers too early. So we're going to go to the legislature and we're going to try to ask them to get the timing of that where it needs to be.
So if I'm trying to buy a home, I talk with a realtor, I may need to sign a contract before I even get started in the process, and y'all are trying to really not make it to where you have to do that at the beginning?
That's right. Yeah, you want to be able to establish a relationship with someone you're working with a professional. And that's one of the biggest complaints from consumers. They may see a property listed or know someone and want to work with them and see a property, but they don't want to be forced into a buyer agreement too soon, right? They want to get to know you before they say, hey, I want to work with you. And that's where we want to get that part right. And really the unfairness for Alabama is Alabama was not a party to that lawsuit. None of our members were parties to it. But our transactions are being affected detrimentally because of that. And really the only voice that we will have in that process is to ask the legislature to get it right. Mm-hmm. Our legislature creates laws for our licensees, you know, not people in other places across the country, our Alabama legislature. And that's where we're going to have a voice.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about this issue that it started to come up last year a little bit, but went away. I guess it was toward the end of the session, and that's tort reform. I think y'all have referred to it as lawsuit abuse. There are several business groups that have expressed a desire to revisit Alabama law when it comes to torts and jury verdicts and things like that. Haven't seen anything this year, but there's always talk. What are you involved in hearing? Will we see anything on the tort front this session?
Well, we think it's an incredibly important issue. Just like the example before, you know, it wasn't a bad bill that passed in Congress that affected our members of the legislature. It was one legal settlement that redefined an entire industry across the country. So this is why every business group in the state needs to be at the table engaged on this issue. So we're working with a number of stakeholders. We expect there will be one or two bills this year, but if you look at what's happening in Georgia, Georgia has actually become a judicial hellhole again. And so there is a major effort being waged by Governor Kemp in Georgia to try to get Georgia back to being a pro-business state that treats people fairly, including small business owners. And so we've seen some slippage in Alabama. There was a major case out of Clark County recently affecting one of the state's largest employers that really is a wake-up call. It was a nuclear verdict, over $160 million against Daimler. And really bad facts, but really a nuclear verdict that really was excessive and has major implications for the future of our state.
Is the argument there that it kind of stifles the recruitment or expansion of businesses because people might be afraid of jury verdicts going against them?
Yes, so there are national groups that measure the statistics, but we're now in the top 10 per capita for nuclear verdicts in the country. A nuclear verdict is defined as a verdict in excess of $10 million. And so that does limit who wants to do business and where you want to do business in our state. There's some places in our state that you can't put a Dollar General store. Dollar General is a great company, but you can't put one in some counties and some jurisdictions because an average slip and fall will be a bet the company litigation that'll put you out of business. You can't afford to do business there. And that's not truly having a business-friendly state when we have a legal environment in some parts of the state that way.
Well, that sounds like something to look forward to this session. If that comes up, it'll be a big, big topic.
Thank you.
Well, Jeremy, we're out of time, but thanks again. Congratulations on Realtor Day, and look forward to it again next year.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online anytime at Alabama Public Television's website, aptv.org. Click on the Online Video tab on the main page. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page.
Tuskegee University is the second oldest historically black college in Alabama and one of the largest in the United States. Founded in 1881 as the normal school for colored teachers at Tuskegee, the school quickly became a driving force in the developing industrial education movement under the leadership of noted educator Booker T. Washington, its first president. In its early decades, Tuskegee Institute made significant contributions to agriculture and improving the lives of rural black farmers. Tuskegee has played an integral role in Alabama history and education. It pioneered the movable school, served as the training ground for the Tuskegee Airmen, and students and faculty were heavily involved in the civil rights movement. In addition to its many notable alumni and academic developments, it was the first HBCU to have a marching band. Tuskegee University was recently ranked as the top black college in Alabama and the 6th nationally.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night at the same time right here on Alabama Public Television. For our Capital Journal team, and especially Rod Richardson, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Rod. I'm Todd Stacy. We'll see you next time.